Hello, this is Nick from One Prog and Power Unite, and I'm sitting with the legendary Swedish composer, guitarist, and vocalist Roine Stolt. Welcome, Roine.
Oh, thank you. Did you say legendary?
I did say legendary. As far as I'm concerned, it's appropriate.
Does that mean that I'm really old now? Oh, God.
It
You're
means...
supposed to be old and legendary, okay?
Well,
in fact, I actually saw Procol Harum last Monday, and I would say legendary. I would save that for someone like Gary Broker. He's a legendary guy, you know.
Well, how
but
about
okay.
we'll reclassify you as in the future legendary.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Hope to be legendary.
Yes. All right. Well, now, after several years, I, as well as many fans of the Flower Kings, were excited to see you guys back in action with the Banks of Eden, and with Desolation Rose coming out later this month. It's been just a year between albums, and do you think that fans can expect to see that kind of production from the band again?
I would guess so. I mean, you never know. We don't like to plan that far ahead. It's not like we're planning for 2 or 3 or 4 years. That's way too long. It's like we can we can maybe look into next summer, you know. That as far as and it all depends on how things go now, and we're really excited about the new album. It seems like people like it from the reviews I've seen and from what I heard from fans, but you never know, you know, because if it works, you know, and people like it, and we tour and they come to the show and they love it, then of course we're gonna go on, you know, and make another album as soon as possible, you know, once we're done with the touring. So that and normally I would say we tour in Europe, and if we're lucky we tour in the United States or South America. We sometimes go to Japan or Russia or places like that. But we pretty much we can handle that in let's say 1 year. And then start working on a new album. So normally with the band, I think there's never any lack of ideas or songs. You know, that's not the problem. The problem is to find time to book a studio and get together
Okay.
And yeah.
All right. Now that break I was talking about between The Sum of No Evil and Banks of Eden was a first in the band's career. Did you find it tough to come back from that, or were fans so starved for new material that it actually made the return and the process of coming back easier?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think actually what happened was that Flower Kings, I would say, came up from obscurity probably in the late 90s, you know. To meet a like slightly bigger audience at least, and start touring around the world. And after some time and after a couple of albums, it seems like the fans get, I don't know, they get spoiled, maybe it's the right word. And so we could sense a little bit of, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't always depend on the fans. It sometimes depends on the band, and maybe, I don't know. I mean, looking back now, maybe we're, I don't know, just getting a little bit boring. I don't know. The albums weren't as inspired as before. Anyway, what happened was that we felt that after some 15 years being together, it just felt like we couldn't really mobilize the energy to go into the studio and get everyone on board. It's always like you have maybe one guy on board and really excited about making a new album, then there's 1 or 2 guys that feel like, nah, I want to concentrate on my solo album or something like that, you know, or they want to stay home, they don't want to tour. Or so when we reached that point, it felt like, and then there was also some criticism coming, on the internet. You shouldn't read anything on the internet and take it for universal truth, but things like that, you can kind of sense that, well, there's not, the excitement for the band isn't there like it was like 5 years ago. Then you need to ask yourself, do we really need to make an album again? Do we really need to make an album every year, or can we maybe stop? Maybe we shouldn't tour this year. So that was what happened. I didn't say let's stop for 5 years. I said let's not make an album this year and let's wait and see. It's suddenly we were almost 5 years into, yeah. So it took some time, but once we got together, I think everyone said that it felt like we've stopped for a week or something like that. So it was easy to get back, really.
Okay, and as you sort of mentioned with solo projects and that, unlike other bands who perhaps stop and you kind of don't see the guys for a while, it's not like you guys were in a cave that whole time. You were certainly out on the road. You had many different albums amongst all the different members, so you kind of kept fans very happy with that. It wasn't like you weren't seen at all.
No, absolutely. I mean, I managed to make 3 albums with Agents of Mercy. That also includes Jonas,
Mm-hmm.
And also I made 1 album with Transatlantic, and we were touring. And so there was lots of activity, And Jonas did albums with Car Mechanic, and I know that Thomas did some album, and Hasse also did his own album, So I think it was probably good for everyone to take a break, even if not all of the members felt at the time when I proposed the break. They maybe felt like panic. What? We're not going to tour, But and I understand in a way because you need to make money, from somewhere else, But I think going on with the band would probably have killed the band, And I think it was. I mean, looking back now, I think everyone agrees it was the good thing, and the right thing to do at the time.
Okay. Now, with the new album, Desolation Rose, it was written and arranged in a little different manner than the previous Flower Kings albums. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how it affected the final sound of the album?
Well, it was just that for whatever reason I felt that we should try to not go in with our demos of the songs. I mean, really finished demos, because nowadays you have, access to, in your computer, you have everything. You can program the drums, you can program keyboards, you can sing, you can play, you have every possible instrument in there, So you can make really elaborate demos of songs, And once you do that, sometimes I think that put a lid on creativity, Because when you're listening to a demo that's almost like a record, then you think, okay, what can I possibly add to this? Well, not much, So you just go in there and you play it the way the guy wrote it, okay, sing it the way he wrote it, and I think by leaving some loose ends, you don't have a beginning of the song or an end of the song. Maybe it's just a riff, or maybe it's just like a vocal line or something like that, or a solo section or something, that can be used in a song. So that's what we went in with. This is what I proposed to the other guys, and they say, yeah, let's try that. And it's taking a risk, but once we got to the studio, it was obvious that we had lots of ideas, and we just tried to work, with what we had and be creative and jamming some, and trying to make sense of what we had and create the structures for the songs. So that's what I would say. That's probably the main difference between this one and let's say some albums we made some 10 years ago. When there was just very specific demos, that you had to reproduce.
Okay. Now, switching lyrically on the album, there's a lot of observations on perhaps failures and shortcomings of people, and I'm guessing that it must be a topic that at least somewhat interests you. And are there any sort of issues that you would really like to see addressed in the world?
Well, probably too many to mention here, but well, I think it's. My idea about, as I'm the guy who wrote the lyrics for the album, this idea I had was to maybe this time try to narrow it down a little bit and to perhaps focus on the well, slightly darker side, or I would see it rather as an observation of what's happening in the world today. Of course, not everything that's happening, because lots of really good things happening too. But this is the time we're living in now. You have different religious conflicts around the world, political instability. You have economical instability. You have lots of nasty diseases that you can't really control, and you have the threat, the environmental threats, and it's all over the world, really, and we of course are fortunate to live in my case, in a country like Sweden, where we are, we haven't had war for a long time. The economy is quite okay, actually, and we're living, I would say, lives that are, we have a pretty good life here in Sweden. I think a lot of countries in Europe, it's the same situation as in Sweden, and America a little bit, now with the economy and everything that's happening. So I'm sure you know more than me, but it still is like with the constant flow of information you have nowadays from the internet and from the news on television, you get to know if something happens. You know it within minutes. Something happens in China, you know it within minutes. If something happened in the States or in Peru or whatever, if there's an earthquake, if there's a conflict somewhere, if there's a bomb somewhere, you know it within minutes. And this is probably, I don't think that maybe the world isn't a more dangerous place or a worse place than it was like 50 years ago. It's just that the information flow is different now. So this is the environment we're sort of living in, and then we wanted to sort of, for a change, we wanted to portray that in this album, and I know it in some ways maybe it will annoy a few fans that were really happy with what Flower Kings used to be some 10 years ago, and we were sort of the hippie love and peace band, but you can't really go on singing or writing about the same things all the time, so this came, pretty much natural for us to do this at this point.
It's certainly, you like you said, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. And you had mentioned the U.S. in there, and one of the things I've noticed about the Flower Kings is compared to a lot of European progressive rock acts, you've managed to make a dent in the U.S. market. You sell here reasonably well. You actually have semi-regular touring here. What do you attribute that success here to?
I don't know. I have no idea, frankly. I frankly don't know. It's I don't know. It's sometimes I feel someone told me, I think that in America you have like a jam band scene, with I can't remember the names of all the bands, but I mean it used to be like the Allman Brothers and Gavin Mule, I suppose, but and I think some elements that we had in the past, at least, maybe now the music is more structured, but in the past we had some of that, and especially in the live setting, the Flower Kings was a band that had musicians that could actually stretch out in a jam, And some of the progressive bands now, they play the albums note by note exactly as the album, And if you ask them to improvise, they can't, And I was almost shocked when someone said that a guy like Steve Vai, he's not improvising, he plays his solos. I know his music, but I'm not familiar to it in such a degree, so I know exactly, could tell if the solo is the same as on the record. But it seems like some artists prefer to play the music exactly the way it is on the albums. It's like note by note, the exact same every night. And a band like the Flower Kings, we try to change around a bit. We sometimes make a section where we can stretch out and jam a bit, so we know when we go on stage we don't know what's going to happen. We just try to listen, have open ears, and try to listen to the other guy, whatever, the drummer starting a beat, and then I just try to follow him, and the bass players try to follow me. We try to create something, at the spot, and so that's I don't know, maybe that has maybe the American fans took that to their hearts. I don't know, really. I have no answer.
All right. Well, you had mentioned the newer sound of the Flower Kings, and part of that I've noticed on Desolation Rose and on the Banks of Eden, there's only one track over 10 minutes. Is that something that you did consciously, or just came to be naturally?
No, I don't know really. I think actually we don't think that much about the timings of the songs. I personally view Desolation Rose as more like a song cycle, because if you're listening closely to the songs, you will find that there are themes and riffs, even I think lyrical themes coming back, If you listen to the first song and then you hear something, some 35 minutes into the album, you can hear the same riff coming back, but it's a slightly different version. So I see them more like we divided them into two separate songs, but as a whole, I just saw it like we're recording, a bunch of different themes, music that we then sort of try to glue together to something that's cohesive, and. So to me, but I know some fans, they get really, really excited if they see an album. They say, oh, they have a 35-minute song or they have a 40-minute song, and that's sort of equals to the fact that this is a great album because they have a long song, and which is kind of funny. But to me, it's more like you put on the album, and some of the songs we have cross-faded because we think they kind of belong. They're meant to be listened to as a whole, not like you take one song and play it on the radio because maybe it doesn't make sense if it's taken out of the context. Yeah. So pretty much like, the old, whatever, the Pink Floyd albums or the Yes albums or, those kind of albums, or even Beatles' Abbey Road, that's the kind of thing we try to create, I think.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, the track markers are nothing but a digital mark, and if this was released as a 1-hour song, I don't think anyone would blink an eye. I compare it to the Whirlwind and how you were saying, the themes reappear throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
But and switching to Transatlantic for just a little bit, one of the exciting things that you're doing with them and with the Flower Kings is going on Progressive Nation at Sea in February. Yeah. And how do you see that format differing from a typical music festival?
I think that's probably an answer I could give you after I've been on the boats, because I've never been on boats, of course, but I've never been playing music on a boat, so that's a completely new experience for me. And of course, we're excited to be on there because just looking at the band, the lineup of bands is amazing, So it's going to be like almost a week of insanely great progressive music. You can be there as a fan or as a musician, and when you're not playing, you can listen to all the other bands. And some of the bands I never heard. I never heard King's X. I never heard Devin Townsend live. I've never heard what else? Well, there's a couple of other bands I haven't heard before. I haven't heard Adrian Belew's Power Trio. And So that's gonna be exciting. There's gonna be some work for us, but and I couldn't tell really because I don't know the facilities. If we're playing outdoors, indoors, a small hall, a big hall. I would imagine Transatlantic is playing a bigger stage, and there's gonna be like a final. I don't know, encore or something like that, where we bring John Anderson of Yes on stage. So we're going to play a few Yes songs together with him, and that's even more music I need to learn. But I'd be happy to do it because I, of course, love the music. So But it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be. Hopefully, I mean, if the weather is good and we have some nice weather, being on a boat with lots of music fans and lots of great music, and you get a chance to play music yourself. I mean, what else could you wish for? You know, in life, I would say.
Yeah, it seemed like as an artist, that's something that when you're not playing, you'll be a little bit nicer off day than just sitting on a bus going to the next location.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd rather be on a boat, you know.
Now, of course, it's still early. That the new Transatlantic album doesn't come out till next year. But is there anything you can tell us about the new album and how it's going to sound yet?
Well, it's a good album. What can I tell? I don't know really what I'm supposed to tell, but I guess I can say it's 5 songs. I won't tell you the length of the songs, but and there's some bonus material that's really great. Probably the best bonus material we've had on an album so far. And I don't know if it's a big step in a new direction. Really, we try a few new things. We do, but I think anyone who loved Transatlantic, the previous albums, will probably love this one too. You know, as we're trying, you know, as much as possible. You know, having different guys doing the lead vocals. We're trying to sometimes having sections that are more based on keyboard, some more on guitar, and some more on the rhythm section where Mike and Pete can shine, you know, and some more melodic stuff and some more I would say more heavy oriented. So I think there's so much in there. There's lots of good stuff in there. So I think the fans hopefully they will all be very pleased with the result, you know.
Okay. Now, I mentioned Desolation Rose. That comes out October 28th in Europe, the 29th in the States, and of course you're going to be touring for that, and lots of tour dates are already up on the Flower King site. New Transatlantic coming out next year, and of course European tour dates already released. American tour dates are going to be coming soon, I understand. And aside from that, is there anything else you're involved with that fans can look forward to?
No, not really, because that's pretty much there's no time really for anything else. This is pretty much a full schedule. I mean, from now on, you know, and we're doing this, and then starting next year, touring basically all the way to next summer, I would say. In between, I have a few rehearsals, of course, with Flower Kings and also with Transatlantic, you know. And I don't know, if I find some free time, maybe I'll sit down and try to edit some live Flower Kings music that we recorded last year. But I don't know. I don't know really yet. If I have some time, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll try to sort of have someone else do it. But it seems to me right now this going to be next year, especially beginning of next year, is going to be very hectic, and lots of touring and lots of traveling around the world. We're going to South America with Transatlantic also. So yeah, it's my plate is full, as they say.
Well, that's always good, but it's never seemed to stop you or your bandmates from doing a lot, and we certainly appreciate. And I thank you very much for taking this time to speak with me, Roine, and I wish you good luck with the new albums and the time on the road.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.